Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, I almost think like Carnival brand ambassador John Heald was kind of just threatened in a way, or at least like something. Wait till you hear this story. Wait till you hear this one. We also have the World, one of the first residence cruise ships out there, just did a big renovation on board. I'll tell you why and the reasons for it and what they've done. Fortunately, another gastronomical outbreak on board, although it hasn't been announced to the CDC, but there's a reason for that. We have MSC completing something that a lot of people have been asking for. And finally, Carnival did something to Australians they're really, really furious about. So first off, I haven't had to talk about this in a while. We've had a gastronomical outbreak, possible norovirus, on a Silver Muse cruise ship. Now, it's been a few months since we've had some, so we were kind of going, but now it's September, and it's getting colder in some regions, and this is when illness starts to spread once again. Now, it hasn't been reported to the CDC because it never touched American waters. So that's why it hasn't been reported, but they took all the precautions on board and they have warned passengers on the next sailing as well. So it looks like it's under control. It's a smaller ship. So yeah, it can spread faster on a smaller ship, believe it or not. So just a warning, folks, it's coming up to fall season, which means cold season, etc. Might be a real good idea to make sure you're washing your hands, etc. going through the buffet. Next, let's talk about the World. Now, the World is a residence cruise ship, and it just did a $30 million upgrade to become more eco-friendly, which means it will now be available to go into, say, Norway when Norway hits their new restrictions that are coming up in a few years. So they wanted to be prepared for this kind of environment. So they've upgraded to shore power, they've upgraded to a more efficient fueling system, and then they also upgraded some of the places on board. For instance, they installed a golf simulator and they've revamped the spa area and did some more renovations as well. So it looks like the World is here to stay for a long time. Good for them. That seems to be one of the big success stories out there for residence cruise ships. Now, how do I bring this one up? A football fan wrote in to John Heald, and not only wrote in, but is demanding that the sailing on September 28th, they have to show the Chiefs-Ravens football game. Now, Carnival does have the NFL package. They will show NFL games on the big screen, etc. But they just said, hey, this needs to happen. In fact, we need a promise that this game will be shown on the giant screen. And then it goes, hey, there are 18 of us on this 4,500 passenger cruise ship. And you know, oh, by the way, the rest of the passengers would want it too. Glad they're speaking for every person sailing out of Texas, by the way. This is sailing out of Galveston. So I'm glad they're speaking that every person sailing out of Galveston wants to watch the Chiefs-Raven football game. And he says there'll be lots of commotion if this request is not met. Now, obviously, John Heald cannot guarantee what football game will be shown on the big screen. A lot of it, you know, for instance, they're sailing out of Galveston, so chances are teams like the Cowboys would be played first over a game from the Ravens or the Chiefs. It all depends a lot of times. If you're sailing out of New Orleans, well, they're going to show their football team. If you're sailing out of LA, they're going to show their football team. Whatever's local, obviously, or a bigger game with a bigger market. And so John Hill says, yeah, we can't guarantee this. And the person even went so far as to say, should I speak to the captain when I get on board? Wow. I mean, I know people love their football, guys. You know, just like Canadians, we love our hockey. You know, Europeans love their soccer, etc. But, you know, just because there's 18 of you doesn't mean that you get to choose which football game the cruise line is going to show. In fact, during that time period, I checked, there's 4 football games going on during that time period. And so it's going to be a 25% chance that this will go forward. Oh, curious, what do you think? Do you think, yeah, that's kind of crazy that they're, you know, demanding that this game, in fact, they wanted a guarantee. They wanted a guarantee that, and a promise that that game will be shown. I don't know. I don't know. That's all I can say. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Next, let's talk about the MSC. MSC Cruise Line has finally rolled out on all their fleet now Playtech, which is their online sports gambling on the ship, which means you can now gamble on that Ravens game in the future in the Baltimore, right? If you want, but only if you're on MSC. I guess. But yeah, good news if you enjoy gambling on sports and you can keep up to date with everything going on now that the really peak season. I mean, the baseball playoffs are just about to start, hockey's starting up, and football just started. It's a pretty darn, you know, basketball's coming up as well. So pretty darn good year, like season right now if you're a sports fan. And so MSC has rolled it out to all their ships if you want to do some gambling on their ships. And finally, Carnival has had to apologize to their Australian client base. Now, what happened? Well, they just rolled out that zero proof drink package, right? And a lot of people like myself are going, hey, it was a pretty darn good package, including, you know, smoothies, milkshakes, energy drinks, soda, coffee, tea. Hey, pretty good non-alcoholic package. Well, unfortunately, if you went to the Australian Carnival website right now, you would now see specialty coffees and teas are no longer on that list. They removed them. Not really knowing why that's happened, but they've removed them in Australia. No specialty coffees, no specialty teas, and that is probably a pretty big reason to get the zero proof package, was because of coffees and teas, right? Yes, for children, sodas and juice, maybe some milkshakes, but for adults, the coffee and the tea is a big seller. And again, not really sure why they took it off there. Some kind of regulation, maybe a pricing structure, I'm not sure. But let me just say, the Australian client base is really not happy with it. In fact, they're pretty furious over them having a different drink package from everybody else in the Carnival fleet. And I can kind of understand why. And a lot of people are now saying, hey, you changed it, I bought it with it, and you better allow me to cancel it and get my money back. I'm pretty sure Carnival will say, yeah, you can probably cancel this now and get your money back, because that's a bad look if they don't. Well, let me know in the comments down below. Would you be upset if you bought a non-alcoholic package and found out, hey, the stuff you bought isn't now included suddenly, but only for your area? Ooh, that's a kick in the teeth if I do say so myself. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.